So here we have the Beppe Morchetta Rosso. So this is a Vino d'Italia, but it's from the Veneto region, northern Italy.
Absolutely, northern Italy. So we've talked about in the past how great white wine is from northern Italy, and obviously we've got Prosecco from northern Italy, Pinot Grigio from northern Italy, Soave from northern Italy, but red wine. So northern Italy has got quite a rich heritage when it comes to red wine. Barolo is from northern Italy, Barbaresco from northern Italy, and even Amarone is from northern Italy. Now, the thing about northern Italian red wines, it's pretty cold up there. It's pretty cold, and so you don't get the amount of heat and the amount of sunshine needed to make big, rich, sort of luscious red wines. And as a result, they can be a bit tart, they can be a bit abrasive. And actually, most people sort of associate Barolo, for example, with heavy, rich red wine. You might buy a bottle from the supermarket, get it home, and be pretty surprised to find out that it's tart and it's high acid and it's a bit abrasive. And that's all to do with the northern climate. So what do you do about that? Well, with Amarone, for example, and by the way, Amarone shares a grape with this particular red wine, Corvina. Corvina is one of the red grapes in this red and is also Amarone. What they do is a process of drying the grapes out in the sun to reduce the water content, increase the sugar concentration, and mellow out that sort of abrasiveness with sugar. We don't have that here, so what have they done? They've taken Corvina, that exact same red grape that's found in Amarone, and they've paired it with Merlot. Merlot, the king of velvet, I would say. Yeah. Velvet smoothness. It does fine in this cool climate. It still brings out that lovely, lush, plummy flavour. You pair it with a Corvina, which is very much sort of red cherry, tart, red fruit flavours, maybe red currant, maybe cranberry, that sort of thing we would associate with a cooler climate, the tartar nature. And what you get is a really fantastic all-rounder red wine where the abrasiveness of that sort of cold Italian climate, because bear in mind we're not far from the Alps here, is calmed down with the smoothness of Merlot.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is, it's a lovely red wine. Very smooth, very easy. You said velvet smooth. I'm going to one-up you. I'm going dolphin smooth. Ever touched a dolphin?
No.
Like wet leather. Soft.
Scares me slightly.
But it is. It's a really smooth, easy drinking red. You know, like, I mean, you know, clearly people want to know what you're eating this with, but I'm going straight in and saying, this is just this feels like a party to me.
It's a party wine for sure. It's easy drinking red wine. You know, my go-to generally for easy drinking reds would be Pinot Noir. Now, the trade-off you get with Pinot Noir, yes, it's low in tannin, so you don't get the grip on the gums and you don't get that abrasive nature on the gums. But actually, because it's a real cool climate red, perhaps the juicy fruit gets reduced a bit. And for me, sometimes Pinot Noir can be a bit thin as a result. And maybe so if you had a Pinot Noir at the party, some people would think it was great. Some people might be a bit like, I'm not sure. But for this, you've got a cool climate red wine, so that there's none of that abrasive nature, just like a Pinot Noir, but you've got a bit of Merlot in there, giving it a bit of guts and a bit of, something that I think, the average red wine drinker is going to rock up to the party and go, hey, this is all right. I like this. There's flavour going on for me, but I can do several bottles.
Exactly. Outside of a party environment, which ultimately is going to, picky bits, things like that, bit of varied. What would you eat with this kind of, a Northern Italy red, or this one in particular?
This is very much like what we've talked about in the past as a field blend. So we've talked about Spanish field blends in the past. We talked about French field blends in the past. These are wines that were designed for really the family of wine producers to take home at the end of the day. So they would have had their commercial plots for selling to international customers, and then they would have had wines like this for themselves. And so they would have been designed for having at dinner time. They would have been, they're not thinking about a posh party in their middle class kitchen diners. No. They're talking about bringing them home, sticking them on the table. And so they're great all-rounders. They'd go great with tapas or, that sort of antipasti style food. Any meal, really, it's a fantastic all-rounder midweek staple.
I mean, Zoe behind the camera is probably going to strangle me here because I'm going to throw Sam a right curveball. But red wine in risotto, they tend to use like Amarone, things like that. Is this a wine you can cook with?
Ooh, for sure, yeah. I wouldn't hesitate to cook with this. There's this whole thing you might, see a celebrity chef saying, oh, you should only cook with fantastic quality red wines. You can cook with any quality red wine. This would go great if you wanted to to sort of splash it in a bolognese or something like that. Fantastic little cooking wine, risotto for sure. But yeah, not too much, where you keep some for yourself.
There you go. So no need to throw a quick edit in there. Sam saved himself. So there we go. Cheers.